It's a beautiful Monday. Everybody, welcome back to the show. I know I've been a little bit quieter over my birthday weekend. Still got that YouTube live in from Ledson Winery up in Sonoma County, though, so it was all good. But nice to be back in a studio setting. Nice to be able to talk about more Trey Lance speculation. Trey Lance turns 22 today. It's his birthday, so first and foremost, happy birthday to Trey Lance. And I just remember when it was his 21st birthday. That was last year, obviously, right? May 9th of 2021, now May 9th of 2022. The 49ers drafted Trey Lance when he was only 20 years old, just ahead of that 21st birthday, ahead of the legal drinking age. Well, now he's still only 22, younger than somebody like Kenny Pickett, who was drafted 20th overall and is 23 years old. So that gives us a little bit of perspective of where we are with Trey Lance. And this is my main point of the video today before I get into other things. Bottom line is that speculation should not be treated as fact. This has gotten so many people into trouble over the course of not just the last year, but I think on an escalating basis over the course of the last several years as social media has started to drive the way that we cover things. And social media obviously rewards people, at least in the short term, for traffic, for clicks, for this and that. And it's incentivized people to take speculation and present it as fact. And in this whole Trey Lance saga, I talked about it in the previous video over the course of the past few days, where we saw some completely unsubstantiated report that Trey Lance was underwhelming the 49ers. Well, the aftermath of that has led to a lot of speculation that's been created. And then, it's okay to create speculation if you say that I'm speculating, but a lot of people have turned it into fact. And I think that the most recent example revolves around Rich Scangarello, the 49ers former quarterbacks coach who left the University of Kentucky to be the offensive coordinator. And, I was just scrolling through Twitter and a lot of people are saying, oh, well, Rich Scangarello, he's the one that leaked the report of Trey Lance has been underwhelming the 49ers. And I'm like, oh, really? That's interesting. I want to go find what Rich Scangarello actually said. It sounds like Rich Scangarello went on the record, since his name is attached to all this stuff. And I start searching on Twitter, searching on the internet. And of course, Rich Scangarello never said anything publicly. So, and of course, the underwhelming report, which came out a few days ago, never firmly tied anything to Rich Scangarello either. It's just all speculation. But the problem is, it's like this game of telephone that as the speculation is passed from person to person, eventually somebody 4 or 5 degrees removed turns around and says, oh, Rich Scangarello said this. And it's absolutely ridiculous, because we never know for sure that Rich Scangarello said anything. So when all speculation is treated as fact, we start staring at the tree and lose sight of the forest. And by that, I mean the forest, the big picture is that Trey Lance turns 22 today. This is his birthday. And that by all accounts, the 49ers are very excited about his development. And of course, he's nothing close to a finished product. I mean, we have actual data, we have actual game tape from the NFL level to look at Trey Lance and how much he might be improving or not improving, and we can make our minds up based on fact, and we can actually consider the big picture here, and that he's just a really young quarterback that the 49ers spent a whole lot of draft capital on, that they want to be their quarterback of the future, that improved over 10 quarters of action in 2021. We have that data. But when we start speculating about stuff that doesn't matter, when we get really into the weeds and small details like, oh, Rich Scangarello might have said something, even though he's now the offensive coordinator of Kentucky and has nothing to do with Trey Lance's development. Once we start focusing on stupid, small stuff like that on Twitter, then we start staring at the tree in the forest and not considering the big picture. And the big picture is that by all accounts, the 49ers are pleased with how Trey Lance is developing. I mean, I saw Jimmy Garoppolo, a video of him a couple weeks ago. You know how there's one lady who's drawing Jimmy G every single day until he gets traded. And Jimmy Garoppolo had taken notice of, some of those drawings on social media. And I mean, even Jimmy Garoppolo's laughing about it. Jimmy Garoppolo saying, hey, I don't know how many of those she's going to have to draw, but we'll see how many. I mean, let's just rewind. Let's rewind to 1 or 2 days after the season ended. Jimmy Garoppolo said his farewell to the 49ers. I mean, he said it on the postseason press conference right over Zoom. Those clips all went viral. And now Jimmy Garoppolo's saying, yeah, I wonder how long it's going to take until I get traded. I mean, it's obvious what the 49ers plan A in this situation is, and it wouldn't be plan A if they weren't excited about Trey Lance's development. Every single source that's on record has said something similar about Trey Lance's development. We got a couple leaked clips from practice action last year, all 22 clips that have verified that, boy, this guy's got some physical tools to really excite people. But from George Kittle talking to, I think even Jimmy Garoppolo talking about Trey Lance, to John Lynch talking, to Kyle Shanahan talking, they're all excited about the kid. And they're shopping Jimmy Garoppolo open around for a trade. I mean, this is an open shopping of Jimmy Garoppolo that the 49ers don't have to do. If they weren't actually shopping Jimmy Garoppolo, then they would act like they did last offseason when they said, no, we're not shopping him. But again, because people treat speculation as fact, last offseason, everybody was convinced, not everybody, I'm going to give some of you some credit. The last offseason, a lot of people were convinced the 49ers were actually trading Jimmy Garoppolo. And this offseason, they're convinced that there's funny business regarding their confidence in Trey Lance. In both cases, these assumptions have been and are incorrect. And it's because of this. It's because people want to get clicks. People want to turn speculation into fact. So my main point is that there's no lack of actually substantive material to talk about on the 49ers front, which makes this also sad to me. The 49ers just added 20 plus players last weekend through the draft and in subsequent undrafted free agent signings. They picked up Jason Verrett on a 1-year flyer deal, and he's obviously got he's obviously got a chance to eventually start at cornerback a little bit later this season after he fully recovers from that ACL tear. I mean, there's a whole lot going on, and there's a whole lot of information that we haven't yet gotten to process that is legitimately substantive, instead of all this clickbait, instead of all this hearsay at best, but I mean, probably untruthfulness at worst, right? There's a whole lot that we can actually be talking about. And unfortunately, a lot of outlets aren't doing that. And the thing that I want to talk about, that I wrote an entire feature about over my birthday over the past few days, just the first of many, is 49ers offensive lineman Nick Zakelj. There he is. How the 49ers' Nick Zakelj rose from a 0-star recruit to an NFL draft pick, one of the 49ers' 3 picks in the 6th round. So the piece is up on The Athletic now. I'm going to copy and paste it into the chat section so you can go and see it. But the Nick Zakelj story is intriguing to me because of the person the 49ers are getting on top of, obviously, the athlete that the 49ers are getting. And the first thing that popped up to us about Nick Zakelj was, boy, this guy can really move for his size. Check out the chat section. Later on, you can check out the comment section. I'm going to pin it up top. You can check out this article on Nick Zakelj, the 49ers 0-star recruit out of Fordham. But no, he grew to more than a 0-star recruit over his 5 seasons at Fordham, which is in the Bronx. It's got some notable alumni. Vince Lombardi is the most famous football alumnus from Fordham University, but they also have Len Eshmont to their name there at Fordham, the Fordham Rams. Len Eshmont is the namesake of the 49ers' most prestigious end of season award, the Eshmont Award. And Eshmont went to Fordham. He played some running back over at Fordham, also played a little bit on defense, played on both sides of the ball. But Fordham, I mean, the list is short of players that have gone through Fordham in the Patriot League to make it to the National Football League. And now Nick Zakelj just got drafted, hasn't secured a spot on the 49ers 53-man roster, but I believe they're very, very excited about him because of how he's shown a propensity to improve. Consider this. Nick Zakelj was cut from his high school basketball team as a 5'10 sophomore, and then he struggled to open the Senior Bowl. First on that basketball note, he was 5'10 as a sophomore in high school in that Cleveland area. By the time that he was a senior, he was much bigger. He was 6'3", maybe going on 6'4", 250 pounds. And everybody was like, whoa, how the hell did this guy get cut as a sophomore from the basketball team because he was too small? That was the story that Nick's mom, Lois Zakelj, told me for this feature that you see up on the screen. So go ahead and subscribe to The Athletic for that. You'll see the link in the comments section if you're just joining. But the fact that Nick Zakelj grew so quickly throughout high school meant that he slipped under the radar of most college programs. And Fordham, the Patriot League FCS school, was the first one on him. And Fordham said, we see this kid as an offensive lineman in the future after he hit that high school growth spurt up to 6'3". And his high school in the Cleveland area, just a little bit south of downtown, maybe 15 to 20 miles, agreed with that assessment. And Nick Zakelj started playing offensive line as a senior. And the first three games of tape for Nick Zakelj at offensive line as a senior in high school were really rough. Didn't know how to get out of stance. I mean, was just new to the position. And it scared Fordham a little bit. They got those tapes in their office, and the coaching staff there said, oh boy, I don't know about this. This guy, this guy's rough. This guy's a little raw. But then they saw the first 8 weeks of Nick Zakelj's tape at tackle. And once he hit the end of that season as a senior in high school, he was starting to maul people. He had figured out how to get out of his stance. He made a rapid improvement for his high school during that senior season. And it came to the point where he started very, very early during his freshman season then at Fordham. Once he learned the ropes at the college level, it didn't take very long for Nick Zakelj to excel, to really grab people's attention. And the 49ers found out about him because they're scouting Chase Edmonds, another Fordham product, who about 4 or 5 years ago was dominating the FCS level, winning the Jerry Rice Award, which goes to the nation's best FCS player. You know who else won the Jerry Rice Award? Trey Lance. So Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance, you have the FCS's best player gets the Jerry Rice Award. Well, Nick Zakelj was noticed because Chase Edmonds, the running back from Fordham, won that Jerry Rice Award. And everybody had come to scout him at Fordham. And then all 32 teams were looking at Chase Edmonds, and they noticed Nick Zakelj as a freshman. And they're like, oh, boy, who's that kid running around? Baby-faced kid. Doesn't have a beard yet, that kind of stuff. And the coaching staff told the NFL teams, well, that's Nick Zakelj. And then everybody said, well, we'll be back. And the 49ers indeed were back. They drafted Zakelj in the 6th round of this most recent draft. But I mean, this wild story of improving really quickly at every stop that he comes to. First, it was high school, then it was Fordham, then the Senior Bowl, which I'm going to show you right now. That wild story of repetition. I mean, this guy's like a sponge. This guy picks stuff up really quick. Really impressed the 49ers. Just take a look at this. This is Nick Zakelj's very first day at the Senior Bowl. This is an early rep at the Senior Bowl. He's 75. He's at that right guard spot. You have a one-on-one drill, and Nick is just pancake. Doesn't look pretty, right? Not good. Called his mom after that day. He was discouraged. It was not a solid situation for Nick Zakelj on that first day. But the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama, takes a whole week, right? You're there for the whole week, and you practice, and you go through a lot. And by the end of the week, Nick Zakelj, he was putting that athleticism on display. The movement skills were there. I don't have a clip of him pass protecting right at the ready right now, but I can assure you that Nick was anchoring and pass protection and looking like a solid guard at the Senior Bowl. Now, at the actual game of the Senior Bowl late in the week. Now, remember that Zakelj played tackle for Fordham, and guard at the Senior Bowl, that was entirely new to him. So it was just like offensive line being entirely new to him as a high schooler in Cleveland, where those first 3 games were rough and then it looked a lot better. It was just like the college level being new to him once he got to Fordham, but he didn't start initially, but it was really soon once he got the hang of it and he started. And then guard was new to Nick Zakelj at the Senior Bowl. That's where the 49ers envisioned him. They also envision him at center. I'll talk about a little bit about that later. But once he got the hang of it, right? Once he really started learning the ropes, he took on that guard position, even though he was playing against much better competition than in the Patriot League. I mean, the Senior Bowl is filled with some of the best players in the country, and Nick Zakelj excelled. Nick Zakelj grabbed the 49ers' attention. I'm sure he grabbed a lot of teams' attention, and he was able to get to the position where he was actually drafted in that 6th round. So In each case, Nick Zakelj has been a sponge of improvement, and the 49ers love that because they want a developmental piece, a versatile piece they can plug in essentially anywhere on the line, because Nick is 6'6", so you think, oh, maybe he can play some tackle. He does have slightly shorter arms than the average 6'6" offensive lineman, so that's one of the main reasons why they see him at guard. But boy, this guy is smart. And Joe Conlon, who's the coach over at Fordham, he was an assistant on Harvard staff back in 2011. That's when Kyle Juszczyk was at Harvard. He told me this. He said to Nick Zakelj, he's very similar to Kyle Juszczyk. And we all know how smart Kyle Juszczyk is. I don't care about all the Harvard memes and all the Harvard stereotypes that people talk about. Just even if I didn't know that Kyle Juszczyk went to Harvard, I got to know him starting in 2017 because I've been covering the 49ers for as long as Shanahan and Lynch have been there. And Kyle Juszczyk always knows what all 11 guys on offense are doing, and even all 11 guys on defense. Schematically, the guy is highly intelligent, highly polished, takes care of his body. I mean, he's a professional, right? He's a professional that understands the big picture. He sees the forest, not just the trees, right? Kyle Juszczyk has always been really good about that. And the fact that Joe Conlon has coached both Juszczyk and Nick Zakelj and told me he's a lot like Kyle Juszczyk, that's, really, really impressive praise for Nick Zakelj. And that came from Joe Conlon, the head coach at Fordham University. Zakelj also, on top of being really smart, has a noteworthy athletic profile. Why don't you guys check this out? This is the spider graph for Nick Zakelj. He's tall, but he doesn't have long arms. So you see the wingspan and the arm length over here on the right side, 18th and 17th percentile. That's why the 49ers view him as an interior offensive lineman. But take a look at the 10-yard burst. The 40-yard dash is good. And the broad jump. 86th percentile for the broad jump, 87th percentile for the 10-yard split, which is probably the most important speed measurement for an offensive lineman, especially in the outside zone. Every once in a while, you'll see a guy like Tom Compton did a great job last year. He was like 30 or 40 yards away from the line of scrimmage for blocking for one of those Deebo Samuel touchdowns in Cincinnati. So every once in a while, yeah, you'll say, okay, 40 time might matter a little bit. But most of the time, it's short area burst that matters a lot in outside zone, right? How quickly can a lineman get to the edge? How quickly can he get to the second level to take out a linebacker to execute a particular block? And obviously, Shanahan loves to put these linemen in space. Well, that 10-yard split is a great measurement, I think, of the athleticism and the ability to do just that. So if you take a look at this spider graph, the fact that the broad jump, the fact that the 10-yard split are so good, the bench press is not bad either. He's above average there, 66th percentile. You like that if you're the San Francisco 49ers because it is an indication that Zakelj is athletic enough to fit into your scheme. And then finally, Ian Pace, who is another person I talked to make this report, to make this story. He's currently a high school coach in New Jersey, but he was the man on Fordham's staff who recruited Nick Zakelj several years ago out of that Cleveland area, former offensive lineman at Fordham himself. Ian Pace said he's a mauler, and I will show you why people say that Nick Zakelj is a mauler. Why don't we open up this quick little piece of film that I was able to find at the time of the draft. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for all of you. Oops, I don't need to see the tweet analytics. Make that bigger. This will replay over and over. Nick Zakelj, I think this is courtesy ESPN. Left tackle. I think he's too good for the Patriot League, guys. That is one vicious arm swipe. Poor linebacker, poor defense. I mean, he's 92. It's a defensive end. We can't call him a linebacker. So in the Patriot League, linebackers, defensive ends, sorry. It seems like it's a linebacker because Nick Zakelj just handles him so easily, but it's a defensive end, and we can play this many times. It's just as nice each time. Nick Zakelj takes care of him. No problem at all. So that's Nick Zakelj. That's the 49ers' new offensive lineman. You absolutely should check out the story on The Athletic. It was really fun getting to know a little bit more about his background, talking to his family, talking to the man who recruited him, talking to his head coach at Fordham University. I mean, you have to do the legwork, right? At this point, I get people. This goes back to the top of the video. Or the more, if you're watching this just specifically about Nick Zakelj, then it goes back to the other video I made. It goes back to if you're just going to introduce fact, introduce speculation as fact, well, then you're probably going to get a lot of clicks. People want to hear about Trey Lance. They want to hear every single rumor, but it's probably not going to end to anything substantive. The substantive stuff is what the 49ers are actually doing this offseason. They picked up 20-plus players. Nick Zakelj was one of them, and he definitely is a mauler. Anyway, I'm going to turn off the title here. I know a lot of you are online right now, so I'll take a look to see if you have any questions. Maybe I'll answer 2 or 3, then I'll go off to lunch. Let's see some questions. No questions yet. We have a lot of people talking. Put this up right there. Any questions? Wait a little bit. Maybe grab a little bit of coffee. Give you guys a couple minutes, but I'm getting hungry. I've already worked out, so I do need to go get some food here at some point. The players actually vote for the captains. Yes. It's a player voted thing for the captains. Yes, I'll be covering. You mean rookie minicamp or training camp? Rookie minicamp is coming up this weekend. Be covering it on Thursday and Friday. And I believe the players are also going to be doing a ton of stuff on Saturday and Sunday. But normally media is there for Friday, and I think they're separating out interviews. They're going to do some interviews on Thursday. Then I'll be on the practice field on Friday. What is the one thing we should watch for from rookie minicamp? Let's just see what these guys look like coming in. It's going to be fun to actually talk to them in person for the first time. That hasn't happened for 2 years now running because of all of the COVID restrictions. So now we'll get to actually meet players in person as they roll through the 49ers facility. I want to take a look at, I want to see these guys with my own eyes. I want to see how big, how fast Nick Zakelj is. Beyond that, you probably can't read all too much from it. And I believe that players are eligible their first 2 seasons in the league to attend rookie minicamp. So it will be interesting to see if Trey Lance is actually there. And I'm not sure if they're eligible, so don't quote me on that. But that's just something I'm casually bringing up. If Trey Lance is out at rookie minicamp, that'd be a lot of fun. They'd get a lot of people some clicks, that's for sure. Hey, I would get some clicks out of that. I'd post a Trey Lance video. I don't mind talking about Trey Lance. I just don't force the issue every single time. If we have no new information, it's okay that we have no new information. And we're not supposed to have new information all the time in May on a second-year quarterback. That's what early May is for. It's to talk about the other 20-plus players that the 49ers just added. Who wins the strong safety job, in your opinion? It's a good question. It'll be interesting to see if they have a last-minute signing of Tart, later in the offseason, bring back Jaquiski Tart. I think that George Odom is going to play a lot bigger role than people, I think, initially anticipated when he was signed. The one thing I bring up with him is that he really didn't miss a single tackle in the box last year. And it could be that George Odom just needs more of a chance to take off for the 49ers in this 2022 season. He was a special teams ace for the Indianapolis Colts, got a few starts at safety, always seemed to do a good job when he got a few starts, but didn't, have a chance to be the every day, every week kind of guy. And there's a legitimate opportunity to prove himself now with the 49ers, and maybe he becomes that guy. They're going to run a lot of 3 safety sets. So you're going to have Ward, you're going to have George Odom. I know that Tarvarius Moore is, coming off the injury. If Moore is 100% of what he used to be, I think he'd be the front runner there because he's so athletic. He can also lay some wood down there in the box. I do love Tarvarius Moore and how he's developed over the course of time for the 49ers. I mean, remember, they're trying to mix him in at cornerback early in his career. I think he's a safety. He's a turf feeder who can also be physical. The problem is he is coming off the Achilles, so we'll see where he's at. I don't want to pencil him in anywhere, but I do think that George Odom is going to surprise people. Then you obviously have Talanoa Hufanga. And if you run a lot of 3 safety sets, then Talanoa Hufanga is going to see some time out on the field. Mac doesn't have a deadline to decide if he's going to retire or not. I mean, week 1 would be the actual deadline, right? Training camp. But he can't retire really officially until June 1st. The 49ers, even if he says, hey, I want to retire right now, the 49ers, I don't think, are going to make anything official until June 1st because you don't want the dead money cap hit to be on the 2022 books. If you designate the retirement as a post June 1st designation, kind of like D Ford situation, if you designate the release or the retirement as a post June 1st designation, you move half of the dead money to 2023. So it can't officially happen until June 1st anyway for Alex Mack. Is that Brian Griese really a good QB coach? We don't know. He hasn't been a quarterback's coach before. What we do know is the 49ers have a by committee situation there. It's not just Brian Griese who's going to be working with Trey Lance and Brock Purdy and Nate Sudfeld, the three in that room. Jimmy Garoppolo technically there now until he gets traded or whatever happens to him. But we do know Griese's a first-time quarterbacks coach that brings a player's background to the situation. He brings not only a player's background, but he played quarterback under Mike Shanahan. He sat under John Elway. I mean, Brian Griese has walked the walk as far as what the 49ers want from an experiential aspect of this quarterback coaching position. But then you also have a schematic aspect to this quarterback coaching position in what the 49ers can get from Bobby Slowick, and he's going to be the pass game coordinator. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan's going to be hands-on with the QB position. And then obviously, you have more. You have Anthony Lynn is also on this staff, and he's a former head coach. He's a schematic mastermind, especially of the run game, but I'm sure he'll have input into what Trey Lance sees and hears. So the 49ers are, taking the village approach to this, and they realize that Brian Griese doesn't have any formal coaching experience just yet, but he's sure got experience that Trey Lance could potentially benefit from, and that's how they're going to make that quarterback coaching position work. Don't need a thumper strong safety today with the new rule changes. Odom is a sure tackler and better coverage than Tart. Yeah, we'll see where Odom is as far as coverage, but he's a sure tackler for sure. I like what I've seen from Odom in the limited snaps that I've seen him in coverage, but you do absolutely have to be a good cover man to play safety these days, which is why Talanoa Hufanga might be a little bit slow, but that third safety package for Hufanga could be a good spot for him. Really instinctual, can also be in the right place at the right time. But I think Odom might have the tackling and speed combination to do both for the 49ers and be in that strong safety spots. Danny Gray's role in year one, this is a good one to finish on. It's going to be the speed guy. It's going to be wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5, but, the Benjamin role from last year, and hopefully for the 49ers, more than one catch all season. But he's going to be the field stretcher, and he could work his way up that pecking order because, boy, can Danny Gray move. I mean, this guy, he's legit. He can move 5'11", 6 feet, not the tallest, biggest guy in the world, but he can move. And on that note, I have a lot more stuff coming out about the 49ers rookies this week. I'm writing pieces for The Athletic. You saw the piece on Nick Zakelj. Those of you who didn't see the piece on Nick Zakelj, I'll put it up one more time. It is on the screen right now. This one came out today. It's a long feature story on one of the 49ers' 6th-round picks. I'm going to be covering all the draft picks. We're not going for clickbait here. We're not talking about Trey Lance speculation that probably isn't even true, that, we can't even verify. We're not wasting our time because we're doing actual work on Athletic. So go ahead and check it out. It's on the chat section. Click there. Obviously, I'm going to have videos accompanying these pieces for those of you on YouTube, but you subscribe to both the channel, hit that like button right now, hit the sub button on the channel, and then go and sign up for The Athletic. You will support what we're doing to cover the 49ers. All right, guys, thank you for everything. It's time for me to go eat lunch, and maybe I'll do a lunch with Lombardi today. So that's why you have to sign up, because you find out about the best food places in not just the Bay Area, but the world, while I talk about the 49ers in Lunch with Lombardi. So it's a possibility today. Stay tuned for that. Everybody take care. Thanks for joining. Sub to the channel. See you all soon. Have a great Monday.